Frank, Olivia, and April. Thanks for watching Good Day Arizona on 3TV Arizona's Family, the place with more news in HD.
We are joined today by Dr. Jennifer O'Connor. She's a psychologist with Remuda Ranch Programs. That's located in Wickenburg. And you were telling me just briefly about your facility.
Yeah, Remuda's been treating eating disorders in women and girls since 1990. And a lot of the women that we've seen over the years also have anxiety disorders. And we recently decided to open a program that's exclusively devoted to the treatment of anxiety disorders.
Okay, and we're talking about girls and teenage girls, young girls. You say, at least in the eating disorder category, you see patients as young as 9 years old.
That's right. And often when we've seen girls with eating disorders and they're that young, what we're really seeing is an underlying anxiety disorder. Wow. And so we've decided to open our doors to children and teenagers who really just have a severe anxiety disorder, even if they don't have an eating disorder at all.
Is this in general, in terms of anxiety, more prevalent with girls rather than boys?
It is more common with girls, and definitely as they age, women are more prone to both anxiety and depression.
Okay. We know that kids and like adults all experience times of stress. I mean, there are certain times that are maybe more stressful, more full of conflict at school or at home. How do you determine when regular stress has reached the level of an anxiety disorder?
Well, it's normal for teenagers, for example, to have worries about their academic performance or about, for example, their physical appearance or social status. But we become concerned when either their fears and their worries are rather unusual or uncommon for their age, or when the intensity of their fear and their worry becomes so extreme that it interferes with their daily functioning. They may no longer be able to go to school, or they may not be able to focus at school because their fear and their worry is so intense. Okay,
so it may be not alleviating at all for quite some time would be one of the signs that you would look for as a mother or father.
Right, or another sign, if they're constantly asking for reassurance about some kind of unusual fear, like a child may be constantly asking for reassurance about whether or not they have cancer, when there's really no reason for them to suspect that.
So how do you step in? At what point? I mean, I imagine as a parent or a teacher, anybody who's working with young people, you are trying to be reassuring. You are trying to build them up. You know, you think about when you're a kid, that's kind of what the adults around you are doing. How do you know when that's not enough? Okay. I mean, and then who do you talk to?
Right. Well, if it's typical stress, then a little bit of reassurance will go a long way. But if it's an anxiety disorder, you'll find that no matter how much reassurance you're giving, it's never enough.
Okay.
The first step would be to seek an outpatient counselor or therapist to help your child. And if that's not working, then you want to look for an inpatient program like Remuda. And especially if they're no longer able to get to school each day, if they're not able to, say, go spend the night at a friend's house because they're so consumed with fear, then that's something that's more concerning.
That's really getting in the way of having any sort of a normal life.
Exactly, and then that interferes with their development into adulthood.
We're just about out of time. Is this hereditary? Is it genetic, or is it all social?
Anxiety disorders have a strong hereditary or genetic component. There can also be, so for example, if your parent has a lot of anxiety and you're around that all the time, you can learn that kind of behavior and that kind of mindset.
So if you know that it's been in your family or been around a child, maybe be aware of that.
Your child's more susceptible if you have an anxiety disorder.
Okay, well, Remuda Ranch Programs is located in Wickenburg. We're going to put all the information on our hotline and website. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for having us.
We're going to take a quick break. Coming up next, a fresh look at news is straight ahead on